I think the reality is that people have come to learn through leaked intelligence and media reports that foreign interference is a problem, and it is likely to be an escalating problem. As Mr. Johnston has said, it's not a problem that's going to go away. There are better ways to understand that problem than through selective leaks reported on by the media, I think. And so the more eyes we have on this problem, whether it's independent reporting from the National Security Intelligence Review Agency or independent reporting from the National Security Intelligence Committee of Parliamentarians, or Mr. Johnston's report, I think the more eyes, the more reports, frankly, the better. So out of all of that mix of reporting, I think rather than losing sight of the issue, I think we're going to get a lot more attention to it. In an ideal world, we wouldn't have needed this plethora of reports. But as the Prime Minister said, and I think he was right on this in March 6th, so it's a kind of astounding thing to say, he in asking the two independent review bodies to look at this question, he wasn't sure that the public would fully accept their work. And so he said, well, to try and take it out of the partisan atmosphere, he would appoint an independent special rapporteur. We didn't know at that point on March 6th who that person would be. Mr. Johnston's reputation, integrity, independence has been called into question. I don't support any of that. But people are free to take whatever positions they like on Mr. Johnston. What I would say about that is that I think people should read his first report as opposed to simply commenting on it. And I would challenge people who actually read the report and think about it to say, well, this isn't an independent report. It's a whitewash, or whatever they want to say. The reality is that the report in many places is quite critical of the current handling of threat reporting on foreign interference, the machinery of government problems that he's identified. So it doesn't strike me as a whitewash in any sense. And so I guess my message to Canadians would be, read the report, give the public hearings a chance. And at the end of the day, if you're not satisfied by the public hearings, fair enough. If you're not satisfied by the recommendations that Mr. Johnston comes up with in October, fair enough. But at least we'll have had the opportunity to have what I hope would be actually an unprecedented public debate. And the last thing I would just say about that is Canadians can ask themselves, well, when was the last time that we had a public debate about the conduct of intelligence in Canada? Well, the reality is never. Maybe you could go back to the Macdonald Commission at the end of the 1970s and say that was sort of a debate about the conduct of intelligence, but focused on one particular agency. We've really never had this kind of thing, and I think it's high time. Last piece I would just note is that we have in Canada, I think, a tendency to focus on one national security threat at a time. Post 9/11, and for the succeeding decade plus, it was all about the terrorism threat. And governments said over and over again, of whatever political stripe, terrorism is the #1 national security threat to Canada, without telling Canadians actually that there are a whole range of other national security threats. I fear that we're in the same kind of, that we're exhibiting the same kind of tendency to focus on one threat at the expense of others. And the reality is that Canada currently faces, for all kinds of reasons, not least because of a very fractured geopolitical environment, Canada currently faces a wide range of national security threats, of which foreign interference is only one. And I think it's incumbent on both governments and the public to understand that and talk more about the diverse range of national security threats that we face, many of which probably matter more to Canadians directly in terms of how they impact on their lives than foreign interference might. So I'm not dismissing the threat of foreign interference. I'm saying it is one of many, and there are probably, to be honest, if we're honest with ourselves, some more significant and serious threats to national security that we face in that range. So I do just encourage people not to listen to the criticisms of David Johnston's report, but to read it if they have an opportunity, It's 56 pages, but it's readable, and you can navigate your way through it to the parts that you might be interested in. So it's worth reading, is I guess the first point. Second point is that I think the idea proposed by Mr. Johnston of public hearings is unprecedented and promising. And we can't say anything more than promising because we haven't seen how they'll go yet. I think Canadians should give it a chance. And I would suggest, I think it's completely naive on my part, that a lot of the sort of dug-in positions, which are fast becoming rear view mirror positions on this, we must have a judicial inquiry or nothing. I think it's time for people to give that some second thought and invest some faith, which may be well placed or misplaced. We'll have to see, in the idea of public hearings of a sort that we've never seen before.